Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 21 of Life on Life's Terms. Your host, Kenny, here. Today, we're going over the second of the three-part series of my personal bio, where I am here trying to let you guys get to know me for future, and so you can see things through my perception, why I have the opinions that I do. So today, I'm going to be going over a section of my life. Last episode, we covered... last part of the bio, we covered the earliest of my memories until about high school-ish, some of the problems I had growing up with dealing with issues with my family members and personal issues, how I had to kind of build defense mechanisms and try to find identity for myself in this world with what information and role models that I had, and then how I developed some barriers to things and some belief systems around things after like going through like some psychological abuse and like social exclusion from other teachers, family members, and peers. So today I want to like dive into like what my life was like after like being in high school and discriminated against by the school cop for being a family member of a known gangster in the city, and what that was like for me. So like when I was in high school, like I wanted to be a gangster just like my dad. Like that was my intention. I seen myself, I had aspirations to live that lifestyle. I wanted nothing other than to be part of this organization, and I was willing to do whatever it was to like get in there. I associated myself with like-minded people and got involved in whatever drug trade I could. Young, before I even like had my license, I was selling weed, and I got into selling ecstasy and going to raves. And when I first started to make money and I seen that there was a potential for a sense of belonging in these organizations, these small criminal organizations, I felt love. I felt like a sense of brotherhood and companionship that I didn't have in my family growing up. And these people who were willing to take risks with me and for me, for the organizations that we were working with at a young age, like they were my new family. My own family, when I asked them to do things for me, it was a battle. It was a test. Like I never really got what I wanted growing up, but like to be able to get like to be able to get unconditional love from these new friends of mine just because I sold dope with them, it empowered me, and it gave me a sense of belonging that I wanted more of. So all throughout high school, like I was the guy. Like if you needed weed or ecstasy in my school, like people were coming to me. I loved lunch hour because that was like my social interaction. I made a lot of money then, but it was like a game of cat and mouse constantly with my school cop because she always would show up at my class like once a week. Sometimes it wouldn't be that scheduled, but she would ask me out into the hallway, and then she would search my pockets and then send me back to class. The psychological aspect of that was like dampering because it just like reinforced again that I was an outcast. I was a criminal. I was a black sheep amongst my peers. The biggest burn that this school cop ever gave me, though, I give her credit. She's a super cunt for this. It was my graduation. I wasn't graduating because I was a few credits short, but nevertheless, I was still allowed to go to the graduation. I did complete high school without getting kicked out of it, so I was pretty proud of that. And I bought a tux, and I rented a car, and I had a hot date. And when I showed up to the event center where they're hosting the graduation party at, I walked in there proudly, like I was actually accomplishing something proper in my life. And that I never had that feeling before of succeeding in something. And even though I wasn't graduating, I still felt a sense of accomplishment. It really felt good. And that's why I splurged a little bit on the tuxedo in the car. And when I walked into there, my school cop, God bless her, was standing there with a big shit-eating grin on her face. "Kenny, how nice to see you," she says. I said, "Oh, how nice to see you too, Constable." She says, "Well, Kenny, your eyes are looking a little bit red today." I said, "Yeah, they're a little bit irritated." She goes, "Maybe it's from the marijuana you've been smoking." I said, "No, I don't think so." She says, "I'm not letting you inside." I'm like, "Pardon me? I'm not letting you into the graduation party. You're under the influence of drugs. You have to exit the building now, or I will put you under arrest for trespassing." I said, "Pardon me?" She's like, "Turn around and walk out the doors." And that was it. Like, that was the biggest burn that she could have ever gave me. From that, like, I already had an innate hatred towards the police that was ingrained in me by my father at a young age. All cops are fags, son. That's why they take men from their families, because they're fags. They don't know what it's like to have kids. That's what he always told me. So after that, it snowballed. It continued to make my perception of the system and reality worse. So my actions and behaviors just never got better. They continued to get worse. I had a lot of fun at the times, but it came with great consequences, and it always like dampened on my. It always has a negative effect, all the partying and everything, on me emotionally, because like the next day I woke up more depressed than I ever was. My depression continued to build up for years and years. One time I was driving my car. I had this little souped up car. I thought I was pretty cool in it. It was a lowered Acura Integra, and it had big rims on it and a loud exhaust back when those cars were cool. And like I just got this thing, and I was out selling weed, and I always went to Domo. The Domo guys were good. They were quick. I went to this one Domo, and the guy, who's kind of had an ignorant tone with me, but I just let it slide. I said, "Throw $20 in, please." He's pumping my gas. And I don't know if like he was just stoned or he wasn't paying attention, but like gas like spurted out of, he like pulled the nozzle out and gas came out and it went all over the side of my car. And me thinking I was pretty hot shit, I said, "Are you fucking stupid? Like, what's wrong with you, man? Like, you just got gas all over my car." And he's like, $21.50 because he went over. And I was like, "Here's $20, man. You're paying for me to go rinse this off." And he goes, "Fuck you, I am." I thought, this guy's not getting it. Like, I'm not fucking paying him full price. He's paying for my car wash. I'm not going to let this idiot spill gas all over my car and just take it dry. I give him $20. I threw it on the ground. I said, "There's your $20. Pick it up, you mutt." And I start driving away. This guy literally runs and hops on the back of my car and like on his stomach and holds onto my roof of my car. So I like gun it and he's still hanging on. So I slam on the brakes and he gets off. And when he gets off, he tries to come around and open my door. Now this motherfucker's trying to attack me over $1.50. He was threatening me and I wasn't having any of that. So he tries to open my door, and he got the latch. He pulled the door open a little bit, and I like threw it in first, and I walked on it, and I like sped up, and then he let go, and I drove in a big circle as fast as I could. And now I'm facing him, and I'm about like 50 yards away, and he's waving his arms at me. "Come on, motherfucker." I was like, this guy's dead. And I was with my friend, and he's like, "Kenny, don't do it." I was like, he's fucking getting it. So I fucking rev it up. I pop the clutch. I throw it into first. Tires are spinning, and I'm flying at this guy. And I don't know who it was or why. I had something whisper in my ear, "Don't run this guy over." So I slam on my brakes at the very last second. It wasn't like entirely in time because the car still hit the guy, but not very hard. Like he jumped up, went on the hood. He didn't like hit my window or smash into it. Just rolled kind of across the hood, and that was it. And then I just decided to leave. Like, I didn't hurt him that bad. He was still on his feet. And all of a sudden, red and blue everywhere. And just my luck and my own ignorance at the time, I wasn't paying attention to my surroundings, and there was a fucking cop in the parking lot across the street who watched the whole thing go down. So now I just got charged with hit and run with a person causing harm because this guy said that he was hurt, and the cop was a witness. So that was one of my first big criminal charges. Lost my license since then, and I was only like 18, just out of school. And like me not having a license since I was 18, like I was not taking that dry either. I continued to drive everywhere for years and years and years. And like to this day, right now, I'm under a 5-year driving prohibition because I've been caught for driving while disqualified 10 times. And every time it keeps getting worse and worse, and they double the amount of time my suspension is. It's a painstaking process, and it's been a huge damper on my life. But I'm working through it now. You know, at that time when I was sitting there, I was being written up by the cops, and they were towing the vehicle. You know, I had like this feeling like, fuck, is my dad gonna fucking kick the shit out of me for this? Like, this is a pretty stupid way to pick up charges. And I kind of feel like I let him down, you know, because like my aspirations, goal is to be a criminal and part of this organization. You know, something like this is kind of like laughable material. But then again, I was still young, so I had a lot of hope to continue with my aspirations to join this organization. When I was sitting here planning like how I'm going to explain this stuff to you guys, you know, I drew a gap. Like there's big gaps in my life, and like as I'm thinking about it, there's a lot of anxiety because months and years out of my life aren't there anymore. I was so like heavily involved and like chemically dependent at a young age that it really had an effect on my cognitive ability to like remember and to apply myself. And because of that, I was always in like a state of, I'd say like an egotistical state, because like all I could really believe in was the tangible things that I could see. Nowadays, I believe more in the intangible than the tangible, but at this time in my life, you know, what was in front of me was all that was real. What I could perceive with my 5 senses was all that was real. And, you know, to me, in my eyes, like I still always said, the working man's a sucker. You guys are slaves. You're just cogs in a wheel. You're selling your life for a measly wage. Fuck it. I'm not going to contribute to this. I'm not going to succumb to this fucked up system. I'm going to continue to not pay taxes. I'm going to continue to have as much fun as possible, regardless of the system, regardless of cops. It's just a game of cat and mouse anyways. And I just continued to perpetuate my delinquents, my choices to live my own life. Working like, so I eventually got convinced, even though like I still sold weed and I went to rave clubs and I still was selling I was making really good money, but I wanted to get a new vehicle, even though I had no license. I wanted to buy a new vehicle. I wanted to get a loan or whatever to buy a brand spanking new truck. And my friend is telling me, he's like, well, you know, I can help you get the loan, but you got to come work for this company for 3 months. So you have pay stubs. We need to get you pay stubs if you want to get a loan for a new truck. So eventually convinced me, and I went and worked for this company for like 3 months, got the pay stubs, and then quit, and just went back to living my life the way I wanted to. At this point in time in my life, like I wasn't doing crystal meth. I was doing maybe a little bit of ecstasy. I was smoking a lot of weed, but I was drinking heavily. And I'm going to tell you this story of this one time. It's like I really knew that it was putting a damper on my life. Like my addiction was taking a toll on my mental health, my physical health, and my spiritual health. And it was really affecting me. So my family went away for Christmas. and I broke up with my girlfriend shortly beforehand due to my drinking. I was feeling really alone, and I was hurt, and I was in despair because I didn't have any hope for the future, and I had no vision of what was to come of my life. I was a little bit behind on my bills for everything, and every day I was like taking ridiculous risks with not very much reward. And the highlight of my life was, by the end of the day, I would be loser drunk almost every day. And I was listening to country music, and I was drinking. And before my mom left for Christmas, she cooked a turkey dinner. So I like saved this turkey dinner for a couple days, and it was Christmas. And my mom said, heat it up on Christmas and then eat it, and just I'm still there with you in spirit. I was like, okay, Mom, sure. And so I stagger over to the microwave and I'm heating up my food. And then when it was done, I put on some cold cranberry sauce on the side of the plate, and I was walking to the kitchen table to go eat it. And I tripped on my laundry basket that was in the midst of it. And I straight up like flew ass over tea kettle. And this plate of food flew up in the air, and it came down and it smashed on my head. And there's turkey and mashed potatoes everywhere, and the mashed potatoes were stuck behind my glasses on my face. And I started to cry. And at that point, like, I knew I was an alcoholic. That was like when I truly knew that my alcoholic tendencies and behavior was getting the best of me. I couldn't even sit down to a meal by myself without being a fucking complete imbecile. And I knew, like, I had to start making some positive changes. I didn't know how, but I knew that there was going to be even more negative repercussions if I didn't. But dealing with, like, still, like, from childhood, what we talked about in episode 20, like, growing up, like, those self-esteem issues that I had. When I was sober, I didn't have confidence. I needed liquid courage. I needed the drug scene. I needed to be able to have power, like either a wad of cash or a bag of dope or guys working for me to give me a sense of importance. I couldn't conjure that up on my own because yet I still haven't developed those skills. I didn't know what to do with them. I started to make money eventually, like a couple years after this Christmas, maybe about a year-ish after that Christmas incident. By this time, I started working, I started selling cocaine. You know, like the weed wasn't doing it for me anymore, and it just wasn't enough money. Even though I got up to like, 3 to 10 pounds a day, my lifestyle habits weren't allowing me to like save money or live properly. And I came, and that's because I was an alcoholic. I was spending a ridiculous amount of money in the bar, trying to find cheap dates or love in all the wrong places. Also, like, serious, like, dopamine junkie. Whatever, like, fast, quick, feel-good thing I can do, I was doing it. If it felt good, I wanted to do it, and then more of it, and more of it. So, whether it's, like, escorts or VLTs or just anything, shopping, I was all over it. I was spending more money than I could make. But to the outside world, like to somebody else that didn't really know me, they couldn't really tell unless they followed me around all day. I was approached by this guy who seen me and seen that it looked like I was doing good. I dressed like better than anybody else. I still had my nice brand new truck, and I was always busy. I was always doing something. So it looked like I was a responsible money-making drug dealer with potential to become something big. He invited me into this organization, and this is the first time I came into an organization that was actually organized, and we actually made some serious coin. And he did teach me lots as a businessman, and I respect that. Being part of a new organization where I had a crew of guys underneath me, where it was structured, it gave me even bigger sense of power and an even bigger ego kick. You know, we're selling cocaine and crack 24 hours on a with a structured group of people. So this is how it worked. We had 4 runners, and they worked 12-hour shifts, but they would alternate. So they would work 4 days on and 4 days off. And there was always like, by the time they were done their 4 days, they made a whole bunch of money. But by the time they were off their 4 days from work, they spent all their money and they're eager to come back to work. So it worked out good in the sense that our workers were always like determined to work that phone. You know, at this point in time, it was like 2007-ish. And I've been selling weed and coke on my own for a while now. So to get off the road and have these guys come underneath me and do it, it was like a huge benefit financially. And it gave me a sense of, you know, I'm on my way to becoming my aspirations. Like, if I can keep this up, then I'll show these guys in this other organization, like this bigger organization that I had aspirations in joining, I can show them that I can provide value. You know, if I can provide value to that other organization that I really want, the big one, then I'll have a potential to be in it. I was already hanging around with all these guys. Like I said, like I was tied to it by family, so they all knew me. But I had to like build this name for myself, and it was like an ongoing struggle, a sense of belonging that I was just after. You know, I just wanted that. I wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to be great, but at this point in time, my idea of great wasn't very great. I was just making ridiculous choices all the time, and you know, I'm telling you this so later on you can see like what I'm doing now and to counteract it. And I want you to draw that line. This one time, so have you ever seen the movie Blow? You know when Johnny Depp's standing in the hospital room when his wife is giving birth, and he's like shaking because he's done so much cocaine, and then he like has a seizure or goes into like a coma because he's like overdosing on cocaine. Well, in like late in 2008, in 2009, I had the exact same experience when my first daughter was born. I was selling cocaine and crack for so long, and I was using so much cocaine. And okay, let me go back a little bit. My baby mom at this time, she was my girlfriend, and I had no intentions on having kids. Neither. Right now, I have 2 daughters. One's 8, one's 9. And I have 2 different baby moms. My daughters are 6 months apart. It was a ridiculous season. When I first got my first baby mom pregnant, we were in rough shape. We were doing a lot of cocaine, and like there was heat on us, and there was like potential of jail and everything, and it was in the air. Like, kids were not a good option at that time, and so we made the unethical choice to get an abortion. However, when she started showing or she was supposed to get this abortion at 3 months, and she just went MIA. She was just gone. Like, she left my house. She said that she was going to get the abortion. She didn't show up for it. She just fucked off. And like that was a lot for me to process. Like, I remember like calling her, and she's like hitting end and ignoring my phone calls. And I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I walked out in the middle of the street, and I'm pacing back and forth in front of my house in the hood, in the ghetto. And when I came to the realization that, you know, she's going to try to have this kid, whether I want it or not, and it really sunk in, I like stuck my chin up in the air, and I let out the loudest scream I've ever screamed in my life because I was fucking scared. I was so afraid of my ability to be a parent. Like, my parents were fucked up, and now I'm like getting tricked into being a parent with a girl that I didn't want to be a parent with. Now, I would never ever like let my own kids know this, but I love both my children so much, but both of them came to me like against my will. I didn't want to have kids. And so she ended up like leaving for like 4 months, and she went on, she was doing her own thing and had this baby against my will. She came back to me when she was like fully showing, and I helped her through the last couple months of her pregnancy with a place to stay and stuff like that, and then was there for when my daughter was born. But like I said, I was just like Johnny Depp off a blow, shaking in the hospital room because I was so scared. I did not know how to handle those feelings. I did not know how to be a responsible human being. And so I stayed with her for like here and there, but like I had another girlfriend on the side, and I was up to no good still. Like, even though I had a kid now, I had a baby and she was beautiful. Like, I was still involved criminally, like up to my eyeballs, and that was who I was. I wasn't a dad yet, and it hadn't sunk in that I was a father. I was still living off my ego and trying to create this name for myself in the criminal underworld. I had to, I remember so I want to explain to you like how I felt in certain situations, but like it's hard for me because for years and years and years I've suppressed my feelings, and I've only like just recently been able to express them and be open with them and transparent. But like at these times, like, I look back at it, I was like, I can't believe I didn't have any like negative feelings about that. But I used to carry around a handgun with me underneath the baby seat in my truck with my kid with me. And that just shows how fucked up my head was at that time, because I had no conscience about that. I didn't worry about that. Like, there was a potential for beef amongst crews, and I had a gun, and that was it. Like, I was ready to do whatever I had to do at any given time, whether or not like I was supposed to be a dad or not. But like 3 months after my daughter was born, my side girlfriend called me over, and she's like, "Sit down." I'm like, "What do you mean, sit down?" I'm like, "What the fuck's going on?" "Just sit down," she says. "No, I'm standing up. Tell me what you gotta fucking tell me." And she hands me this envelope. I'm like, "What the fuck is this? Like, what are you doing here? Are you telling me that I got AIDS or something? What's going on?" She opened the envelope. I opened the envelope, and it was a picture of an ultrasound. She goes, "I'm 3 months pregnant, and I'm keeping it." I just started laughing. I didn't know how to cry at this time, so I just started laughing. So there was my other daughter on her way, and I was still up to my ass, up to my eyeballs in criminal organization, selling dope and working this crew and making sure the phone was ringing 24/7 and trying to help cook food and bag food and get it ready to go out on the phone. And it was ridiculous. I never got to see that daughter be born, though. And shortly after I had that experience where she showed me the picture of the ultrasound, my house ended up getting raided. I was at home. I just got home, and it's shitty because my little cousin was staying with me, and she was underage. She was like 16. She just wanted to come stay with her cousin Kenny, who was up to no good, and she thought I was cool at the time. And poor girl, now all she dates is drug dealers, and now I have to live with that. But anyways, we're sitting there, and all of a sudden the door comes flying open, and gang unit walks in and orders everybody down on the ground. And like, I had no idea what the fuck was even going on. Like, I didn't really have like anything with me other than like a little bit of pot, and in the safe I had that handgun. that I had it in my safe. And they searched the house and they have us all tied up. And then they were gonna smash open the safe. They had a wedge in the safe and they had this sledgehammer and they were gonna smash it open on these hardwood floors. And I had these custom hardwood floors in the house. And in the bedroom they were like black and red pattern hardwood floors. They were this, and at this point in time, like, my adrenaline was pumping. You know, they already fucked up the door really bad by coming in. And I don't know what was wrong with me, but like, I was not thinking about what was to come of this. And I had no idea that it was almost like what ruined me for years. It almost kept me in jail for years. It would have been like a 4-year bit. So they're like, if you don't open the safe, then we're gonna smash it open anyways, and we're gonna see what's inside of it. So I fucking opened the safe for these guys. And it was like one of the stupidest mistakes I've ever made. But inside it, I had that loaded handgun. So I get charged with the loaded handgun and a pound of pot, because I didn't keep drugs in my house. And I ended up going in, and I was in for a year that time. And it took me a year to get bail. I finally get bail. It was I got denied bail like twice, and then I had to create a change in circumstance to get bail again, and it cost us $20,000 to get me out on bail. But that was a big thing for me, you know, like having to go to jail for the first time. That was when I really found out like how criminally involved. Like, I found out who my dad was when I went to jail. Because, like, although he was my father and I got to witness a lot of things, and I seen him with a whole bunch of, like, illegal shit and, like, guns and involved in all this different shit, I didn't know who he was as a person. But then when I went in, I met some, like, career criminals that are, like, always in and out, and just completely involved in, like, the crystal meth scene. You know, that's when I really got to find out what type of individual my father was. And, you know, I found out a lot of the shit that he did that he never ever would have told me in a million years from these people in jail. They were telling me like war stories about him. And it gave me like a fucking serious power trip, because my first time going to jail, I was fucking king of Turd Island. I was the guy in jail. They gave me all the weed. They gave me all the drugs. I got the best treatment. If I needed anything, these guys in jails had my back because of who my father was. And that just strengthened even more my desire to join this criminal organization and be a career criminal myself and to be a gangster. Like, I thought this was fucking, you know, I don't care about going to jail. Go to jail, get treated like a king anyways. A king of fucking Turd Island. So I'm in jail for a year, and it's a struggle and it's a battle, because when I was in jail, that was the first time I met my daughter, my second born. And seeing her behind a piece of glass, and I couldn't touch her, I couldn't hold her, I couldn't talk to her. It was difficult, and it like, it's almost like my nerves and my feelings have been cauterized by this point in my life, because like, although there was some pain, I just suppressed it, and I didn't show it, and I didn't cry. I just pretended like the pain wasn't there. I pretended like the situation wasn't as bad as it was. You know, but really, in hindsight, I was becoming the thing I didn't want to become. I was becoming the exact same father that I had growing up. A disassociated, egotistical, criminally involved, degenerate father who wasn't around. And if I was around later for years, I wasn't there mentally, just like for my entire life, neither was he. when I got out of jail, finally after a year on that $20,000 bail, you know, I did have good aspirations to start my own business. Now, I didn't have aspirations to stay 100% legit, but I did have aspirations to start transitioning legit. You know, you don't want to be just a dope peddler forever. You know, you want to start your own business, and so you can clean your money and you can stay off the radar. So that's what I did. I went to work. I started roofing. I had some strict stipulations. I was on house arrest for months until I can get it changed. And even though I had no license because of the past high-speed chases, I went to work roofing every day. Let me tell you guys a story. This one's kind of funny. So I'm roofing all the time, and I put a ladder rack on my truck. So I always got ladders on there. So that was low heats. So I can go do whatever the fuck I wanted with my ladder rack on my truck, and I would never get pulled over because I just looked like a working boy. And I'm out cruising around with my buddy, and we're just degenerate Johns at this time, and we would go bang hookers all the time. And we're sniffing coke and banging hookers and going from one rub and tug to the next. And then all of a sudden I realized, like, fuck, it's 4 a.m. Like, I got to get home because I can't have, like, my family waking up. I can't put them under that stress of me not being there. So at least if I'm there before my stepdad leaves for work, he can't say shit and rat me out to my mom because I was on house arrest and I still had to live at their house. And so I drop off my buddy and I start flying home, and I'm fucking lit right up still from doing coke all night and drinking. And I just don't give a fuck. I got my truck governed out. I'm going 180 and I'm just flying through red lights because I'm trying to make it home before he gets up for work. And I'm flying home, and all throughout these, like, I take this back road to the subdivision to where I live, and I'm blowing all the red lights that just went up, and they all got fucking cameras on them, and they're not flashing or nothing. So, like, I knew I wasn't getting, like, a red light ticket, but they were still functioning cameras, and they were tracking my progress into this little subdivision that I live in here. And so I fly home as Mach speeds, and I get out and I go into my house, and right as I walk in, there's my stepdad just walking out of his room in his underwear to go take a piss to get ready for work. And he's like, "What are you doing home? Are you just getting home?" And I'm like, "Listen, buddy, shut the fuck up. If you tell mom, I'm going to kill you." Okay, he's like a straight John, but like this time I'm just crazier than fucking shit. And I tell him, "Yo, I don't care what you have to say. Just don't fucking tell mom. Don't be a snitch. Don't rat me out. Like, I'm home. Just shut up. Go to work. See you later." And that was it. So he leaves. And for some reason, I just have this gut feeling, like, to call him back and threaten him again, because I'm like, shit, like, he's going to snitch me out to my mom. It's going to be a big scene, and I can't have this right now. I can't have this domestic shit in my life. I'm trying to get my life together. So I call him, and he's like, "What the fuck were you doing?" I'm like, "What do you mean, man?" I'm like, "Don't fucking tell mom." He's like, "I'm not going to tell mom nothing, but what were you just doing?" I said, "Nothing." He says, "There's cops everywhere." He goes, "As I left the house, they were fucking all over our community." I said, "Like, how many? How many cops did you see?" He's like, 10. I'm like, "Shut the fuck up." So I hang up on him, and I creep up the stairs, and I look out the front window. Sure as shit, there's fucking 3 cop cars in front of my house. And my heart starts pounding, and I'm like, my adrenaline's rushing, and I fucking shook. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm going to lose my 20 grand bail. I'm going to go back to jail. Oh, my fucking God. So I had to think fast. So I fucking ran downstairs. I took off my clothes. I threw on some fucking plaid boxers, and I messed up my hair like I just woke up out of bed. And I ran upstairs. I took the leftover coffee pot from my stepdad. I poured a half a coffee, and I walked out the front door in my ginch with my hair standing on end, and I was squinting, and I was rubbing my eyes, and I was like, "What's going on, officers?" And I was playing it off like I just woke up. And he says, "Come here, sir. Can we talk to you?" Sure. So I walked out in my ginch and holding this coffee and fucking trying not to open my eyes. And he says, "Is this your truck?" And I said, No. That's the mother of my kid's truck, because at the time I had it registered and insured under her. And this thing's fucking ticking. Like, it's hotter than shit. I was just begging the piss out of it for like half an hour to get home, driving warp speeds. This thing's ticking still, like letting the heat off. And he says, come here for a second. And he's like, take a look in here. And I look, he points into the passenger window. So I walk around the truck and I look into the passenger window. He goes, what is that? And I had this rolled up $100 bill sticking out of the center console from when I was sniffing lines. And I said, well, officer, that seems like a rolled up $100 bill. And he goes, yeah. I said, I'm going to have to talk to my baby mom about that. Playing it off like it was her that was out sniffing coke and driving home at Mach speeds. And the cocksucker believed me. He's like, yeah, you really should have a talk with her about that. I said, thank you very much, officer. And he said, have a good day. Good luck. And I fucking walked back inside and I almost fell over because this fucking idiot believed me. That was a close call. That was really fucking close. So, to carry on with the story and like where I'm at and at this point in my life, I need to tell you about like where I really fell off the wagon and where shit really fucked up for me. So like I said, I was roofing at this time. I had my own roofing company and I was like trying the thing with hiring people to come work with me. But I was still really new to it. I like flew by the seat of my pants and like I was trying to go all in, balls to the wall. And one day I show up to work and I climb the ladder and I go to hop on the roof, but I didn't check the specs of the roof. I didn't check the paperwork first, and it was an 812 and not a 612, and you can't really just like walk up an 812. And when I hopped on it, I didn't nail in the ladder or nothing. I was just cowboying it. And I go to run up to hook up the initial safety line, and I start slipping. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I start slipping. And then I'm sliding, and I know I'm going over the edge. So I turned around, and I faced the edge. And then when I went over the edge, I jumped to clear the ladder so I didn't get tangled up into it. And it was about 2 stories and a bit because it had a really high foundation. And when I hit the ground, I fucking totally like wrecked my body. My left knee, I tore every ligament almost in my left knee. I completely severed my ACL, my PCL, and 2 out of the 4 meniscus on my left leg. But I was alive. And I hopped on 1 foot to my truck, got in my truck, and drove myself to the hospital. And that was like a huge dampering on me trying to like build this legitimate company. Like I had to shut everything down. I was all fucked up now. I still had bills to pay. I had these kids to feed. What the fuck was I going to do now? Right back full force into selling dope. Not only that, but then I relapsed again on crystal meth because I was depressed and I didn't know how to fucking handle my feelings. And I went back to what I knew and was anything to ease the pain. It was drugs. So now, like, jail wasn't a bad place for me to be. Like, hypothetically, I wasn't going to get hurt or killed in jail because of being associated with high-level gangsters. But it was not a place that I wanted to be. You know, it took me away from my family, and it took me away from my lifestyle, and there's no pussy for guys in jail. There's just back pussy. I'm not in back pussy, not hairy back pussy anyways. But like I didn't want to go there. So like me being able to con my way out of going back to jail at that time and losing my bail was definitely a good thing. It's really a good thing. You know, next episode when I get into the third part of this, I'm going to dive into much more about after this event, like after my injury when I fell off the roof and hurt myself and relapsed again on crystal meth. Things started taking a turn for the worst after that, and I'll dive into that. There's some more like interesting stories and really like high stress situations that I'm gonna try to walk you guys through. But I'd like to wrap this episode up right now, and I want to thank you guys for listening. I enjoyed sharing my story with you. I'd like to give a shout out to Liam Connolly at Connolly Law for all your Canadian law and will estates and media issues. Google Liam Connolly Law. And please go to our Patreon page to support Southside Boxing Legion. 100% of your donation will be given to this not-for-profit, and you can help a child box tomorrow. We feature one nonprofit a month, and all the donations that you make on the Patreon page will go to this nonprofit, 100% of it. Why is it good to be a patron? Being a patron gives the listener access to Life on Life's Terms content forthwith. So instead of waiting until Thursday, Friday, you get to hear our episodes the day that they come out. All of our stuff is pre-recorded. None of it's edited, but it is pre-recorded. So it gives you the upper hand. You get to hear this information right away, and it goes to a good cause. So for the cheap cost of 3 Canadian coffees a week, please go to www.patreon.com/lifeonlifesterms. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next week.